Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Am I the Asshole podcast. Today, I'm joined by comedian, stand-up comedian. You've seen him on Conan. Welcome to the show, Khalid Rahmaan.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
My heart is racing because I'm so nervous. I already botched your name when we were talking before the show. You didn't do anything to make me nervous. I was just worried that I was going to mess it up. So you told me, because your name is spelled Rahmaan.
Yes.
And you said in Arabic, how does this work? Yeah.
Yeah, in Arabic, the AH equates into a K sound in English.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, you kind of agree to me that your name's, it's on the challenging side. How do you usually broach? And I'm wondering first, in a casual convo, if someone kind of botches your name, do you correct them? Do you let it fly? What's your kind of strategy there?
Yeah, I mean, I always correct people because my mom used to get mad at me for not correcting people. So I just have that generational trauma built in to my DNA. So I just say, hey, man, no big deal. It's pronounced Khalid. And in terms of hosts and people bringing me up at comedy shows, I assume they can't pronounce it. So I go, hey, I'm going to help you out. I know my name is a little bit strange. This is how it's pronounced. If you get it wrong, I'm not going to be mad at you. And it usually works out pretty well.
Wow.
I mean, people still get it wrong. They still botch it. But
what is the botch on Khalid? Because I never struggled with that. I guess I know DJ Khalid, and so it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Well, but you said there's a name people call you often?
I mean, they'll always go Khalid. And the thing is, there are people with this name who do pronounce it Khalid, which makes it even more confusing for people. So there's this point guard when I was in college, but probably the same age, whose name Khalid El Amin. And he was a big deal when I was in school. So that would always trip people up. And then in my dorm in college, there was a dude from the football team. He was the star of our football team named Khalid. And so that was a big, a frequent source of problems.
Oh, man. Do you think DJ Khalid did some good for the people who announce Khalid Khalid movement?
Kind of, but also he's made my life more difficult because this is kind of how I judge strangers. If a stranger meets me and goes, DJ Khalid, I go, this is a loser. This is the person I don't need to talk to anymore. All right, this is good. In a way, it's good. It kind of lets me eliminate people who are not worth my time. Because it's because to say that to me, that's a person who is a hack as a person. Not as a comedian, a hack person.
I love this.
Obviously, hundreds of people have said that to me. Why would anyone think that's original? So it's kind of a good thing. It lets me know, this person is a loser.
What if they go, because this is what I do when I see an obvious joke like that, I'll go, I'm sure you're sick of people saying DJ Khalid to you. Is that likable, or are you still this guy's a hack? You're still making the joke without making it.
I mean, still a hack, but slightly more tolerable because they've at least acknowledged their hackery, and from there we can move forward in a spirit of forgiveness.
I had a situation like this, and I had an Uber driver. He goes, I'm from Kazakhstan. And I go, oh, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what this country did to you. And he's like, what? And I was like, Kazakhstan, right? Kazakhstan. And he's like, yes, Kazakhstan. And I was like, forget it, man. It doesn't matter.
Is it? I feel like this is the origin story of the name of your podcast.
Yeah, right. No, I'm the asshole most of the time. But I reached out to you and I asked you what you want to talk about. And it's interesting because I thought you would go with something, tied to your identity. You have, kind of a unique identity, but you didn't say that. And you said you want to talk about growth during the pandemic.
Yeah, man. Because I've had I grew. I did. And I had such a weird time during this pandemic. I learned a lot about myself. And I feel like if people who didn't take time to just sit and think about their life, their direction, what they want to be doing with themselves in a real way during a global pandemic when so many people were dying and losing their homes and all these bad things were happening, are really off on a really bad path, because this was easily the most important year of my life. Easily.
Oh my God.
Yes. I mean, everything changed.
Important.
Yes, everything changed for me. I'm so grateful for this time. I'm not grateful for why it came about, that this pandemic, but I'm grateful for the time that I had to like sit with myself and be like, okay, so what are you doing? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And it was cool. It was such a big, important time.
Wow. So, I mean, take us through it.
Yeah, man. So first off, like, I guess I'll start from the beginning where I was and what was going on when the pandemic hit, right? So like February 2020, actually things were okay. Things were better than okay. Things were starting to kind of pick up professionally. I was booked for my first like weekend of feature work on the road, which was my first big kind of like, all right, I'm officially doing this standard kind of like tract for doing stand-up comedy on the road. Like you get to, hopefully you'll host maybe, and then you'll feature, and then like you'll hopefully build up a following and maybe headline at some point. So I'm like, this is a big step for me, having the confidence in this like 25-minute set I'd put together to feature, to go and do it on the road. That was lined up. I just got hired by Don't Tell Comedy, this like series of secret comedy shows all over the country. There's a New York branch, to be one of their like house hosts, like regular hosts, paid gigs every week. That would be awesome. And I was just really starting to feel good about the set that I was putting together for stand-up. And I was on tour with this college group that did like shows for religious groups. So I'm like, all right, comedy's starting to pop. That's starting to happen. In terms of like financially, I was not doing great. I was just like in this 20 hours a week, like part-time job that was like barely taking care of the bills. I was living with 2 roommates, not saving anything. Like in a little bit, in a little bit of debt. I'd actually managed to pay off most of my debt a couple years earlier, thankfully. But like just not really a great plan for the future. Like I had no savings, I had no like investments, nothing, and I was living with roommates, and I kind of felt bad about it. Then the pandemic hit while I was on tour, actually, with that college group in Canada. And,
oh, no.
Yeah. And we barely got out of Montreal. Like they were shutting the country down like as we were about to leave. So I got back to the States. Obviously, stand-up comes to a grinding halt. My day job, this customer service gig, that gets like, I get furloughed. I got furloughed like while I was like in Canada traveling for comedy. Like all this stuff was happening when the world was kind of closing down. It was nuts. So, thankfully money was coming in a little bit from the furlough, but still I had to like start looking towards like, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose my job. Everyone was freaking out at that point. And out of that kind of like insecurity, all these like very cool things start to happen.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like I'll start with one of them. I got my own place, which is huge for anyone who doesn't live in a big city. Like living in like a city like New York by yourself is almost impossible unless you're like very, very fortunate. Like it's just a place where, especially as a starving artist, like it's just difficult. Most people I know have roommates. I had roommates since like the 20 years I've been back in New York City since college. I've had roommates, and it came to a head during pandemic because we were all home, and I just got so sick of my roommates. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And I made a plan.
And I don't mean to pry and shut me down, but how did you afford the new place all of a sudden?
Well, here's what happened. I got furloughed from that customer service job. It was a remote job at that point. So immediately I started applying for new customer service jobs, remote work. I got super lucky and managed to get a job. Yeah, I was one of the few people who actually gained better employment during the pandemic.
Wow, man, this is insane. This is good. People need to hear about the one guy who did better throughout all this. I think you might be the one guy.
Dude, I've been joking about this on stage. I feel like being the dude who had a good pandemic is like being the one soldier who had a good Vietnam. Straight up, like no one is happy for you. Everyone is surprised. It's just like how it shook out. I got this great customer service job working for this awesome company. I don't want to talk about the company too much because comedy and like I say wild shit, but it's a great job. It it helped me out. I don't want to get them canceled. But basically like once I got that job lined up in like June, I think it was probably like, it was like May, I got that job lined up. And I had a few paychecks in, and I'm like, you know what? If I come home and there are greasy dishes in the cabinet one more time, I'm going to fucking kill somebody. So I came home. I went to make a salad, picked up a bowl in the cabinet, It was so greasy, it slipped out of my hand, Danny. It slipped out of my hand. I picked it up and put my finger in bowl, and like a white gunk of congealed grease. I'm like,
gunk.
This wasn't even washed. Like, how is this considered clean in the cabinet? I have to get out of here. I cannot argue with adults about basic stuff one more day. I made a plan. Within 2 weeks, dude, I was gone. I got my own apartment 8 blocks away, the exact block I wanted to live on, a little bit more than I wanted to pay, but it felt so good.
Congrats.
Yeah,
this is great. I'm like trying to like change the memories I have of pandemic and just pretend I'm you for now. That's nice.
Yeah, man. It was, I can honestly say it's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, which sounds crazy because it's just getting an apartment. But for me, for what it's meant in terms of freedom, in terms of peace of mind, it's been like the best thing that happened to me pretty much during this pandemic, or one of the best things that happened to me, for sure.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
So you get the new digs.
Yep.
You come home and what? And you got it all. Like, it's your land. It's yours.
Yeah, it's like every day I come home and I'm like, I'm so blessed. Like, everything is the way I want it. If it's messy, I made it messy. If it's neat, I made it that way. I don't have to worry about anybody else, like, in the bathroom. I have women come over. I don't have to worry about them being like, oh, we have to be quiet. My roommates are here. It's like having like your dad, you know what I mean, in like the living room. Like, okay, we have to be really quiet because my dad might be awake. It's like, I'm an adult. If you're an adult, you should have your own space. It's just crazy that I was living this way for so long. And I apologize in advance to everyone who still has roommates, but you need to get your shit together and get out of there if you can, because I'm telling you, there's a better way to be. Just make it happen. Make a plan. Make it happen.
I like to picture that you like turn into like a basic Target, like all of a sudden you're decking it out with like live, laugh, loves, and just really getting in there, going to Michael's, keeping it seasonal, just really homemaking.
No, man, I hooked my place up. I have a well-appointed apartment. I have like very basic decorations. I have 3 actually very large canvas like oil paintings that my sister painted. There's kind of like an Andy Warhol vibe. It's the same image of this monkey, but it's in 3 different color schemes. So it looks very cool for my living room. And then I have a nice flat screen TV on one wall, and I put up a bike rack up on into the brick wall on the another wall that looks like pretty cool. So like it's a nice little spot. I'm actually going to move from here into a nicer apartment in July because I'm trying to level up and like keep the good progress going.
Wow, man, you're on a roll. All right, so it's May, you're in the new digs, you're putting up the oil paintings. By the way, you gotta love a family member artist. You love that. You know, that's how you get cheap good art.
Dude,
that's great.
Absolutely, bro. It's been, and so yeah, I got the new job, I got the new apartment. One of the most important things overall though was like just sitting and thinking about my plan, right? Because I was like kind of like you know, I did Conan in 2017. I got signed with an agent that January that was December 2017. January 2018, I got my first writing job, writing for this game show that's now off the air. It's like one of those game show apps, kind of like not Words with Friends. What's the big one? HQ Trivia. We were like HQ Trivia, but for music. And it was a great job. I had the job for a year and a half. We didn't make it. And then like 2019, I was kind of like, what am I doing with myself now? And then I kind of like was kind of like flailing for a while, like doing part-time jobs, like doing stand-up, but not really with a plan. And I thought about my plan during this time of like the pandemic. And basically what I figured out is that stand-up comedy is not a business. It is a poorly organized Ponzi scheme. And I love doing it. I love doing stand-up, but it's a Ponzi scheme, man. Only a few people make money off of stand-up comedy. Everyone who's doing stand-up, who's like doing well financially, has some other source of income, except for like the talented like 1% who have like, you know, huge fame and like big headlining money. But basically, I was like, if I'm gonna keep doing this, I gotta do it because I love doing it, and just do it with the goal of just getting better every time I get on stage, and let good things happen from that. And then I'll make an honest living outside of stand-up. So I'm not like desperate in this like weird depressive like cycle with comedy, because I wasn't in a healthy place. So I kind of came up with some ideas for how I could do it in a way that was more conducive to just like a healthy way of being, you know?
Yeah, you mean like balancing your job and doing stand-up at night kind of thing, or does it go
Just
deeper?
like balancing my life, bro. Like
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
I had not gone on vacation in like 10 years.
Oh my
Like a
God.
trip that is just for the purpose of relaxation. No comedy, no business, just relaxing and seeing a different place. I had not done that in over 10 years. So I decided last year, like, I'm going to change that. So I went on 3 vacations last year, which I was like so proud of because I would never allow myself to rest or like enjoy myself from the time I started doing comedy, basically 9 years ago. And I decided basically like this is going to be part of my lifestyle now. And I even gave myself a new nickname, Vinny Vacay, baby. I am Vinny Vacay.
Whoa,
Yes.
Vinny Vacay.
Yeah, man. Vinny Vacay goes on 5 vacations a year. And that's just how he
That's
do.
a lot.
I've been on 2 already. Yo, your boy Vinny Vacay is out here. I've been on 2. I've been to Miami twice this year. I've fallen in love with Miami. I've been to Miami twice. I am going to Denver. I have that booked in June. Going to Denver for a long weekend, 4 days. I'm also going back to Fire Island. My buddy has this amazing summer house. We went last summer. I'm going to go out there for a nice like 4 or 5 day weekend. And then I'm going into Austin to visit my buddy who's moving there in September. So like I'm just plotting out. I might go to a 6 vacation. I might do like island vacation in December. Like you got to get away. It's been so like good for my spirit to go away from New York and see different things.
You know, I'm probably going to take this to heart. I don't know if right now I'm feeling resistance to it, but I know you're right. I don't know why I can't accept it. I've been hoarding all my whatever days, my vacation days from work, but I think Vinny Vacay is a mindset.
Have to go.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Everyone who most Americans, by the way, hoard their vacation days and don't even use them, which is such a shame because that time of not working is so important for you mentally and physically and spiritually. We are not meant to work as much as we do. We're just not. And like we have this Protestant work ethic like nonsense here in America that makes us like slaves to working. Like we like live to work instead of working to live. So if you have vacation time, take it because it'll make you a better worker, it'll make you a better person, and you'll just be happier, man. Do it. Do it as soon as we get done with this podcast. Be like, I'm going to Costa Rica, and that's just how it is.
Whew, might have to do it. I might have to do it.
It's so important, man. Like I went to Miami the first time in January. It reset my whole outlook even more than I had been already. Like it just made me appreciate like seeing different places, seeing different cultures, and basically appreciating myself and not basically treating myself like some kind of like robot who just works all the time. And like I can't recommend it higher than I already have. It's so important.
I'm struggling. I have a lot of that work ethic. I don't know if it's Catholic or what, but I think you're right. I know you're right. I gotta get myself to do it. I think I've also become a little bit like, I don't know, domesticated or something. I'm like, I don't know. I've become just a creature of habit. I've been slowly walking farther and kind of doing things, but I'm vaccinated. I'm like, it's fine, but I still have like kind of weird hangups about going places and doing things.
You have to, dude. It's so important, especially now with like the mask update to like the mandate with the mask is kind of changing things. This summer is going to be an important summer to go and do things, and I really hope everyone does because man, it changed my life. Like, I can't even express enough how much I just have so much more joy knowing that I have things coming up with travel. Like, I look forward to that Denver trip so much. I already have an itinerary plan to do all this like wild west mountain shit. I'm going to like ride horses and eat bull testicles and just do all kinds of like weird mountain shit. And it's going to be really, really, really good. I'm going to see friends too. All my vacations have been built around seeing friends in different places, which is also huge.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah, man.
That's great. Well, I'm gonna chew on it. I promise you, I'm gonna chew on it. That's the best I can do for you right now. I do need to go do some stuff. I got way too many vacations. Like, what? Am I gonna take a month off? That's insane. That's insane behavior. I should take.
Imagine this podcast. This podcast just turned into me becoming your life coach. I'm like, listen, this is what you gotta do. This is the path, Danny. You gotta do this. Honestly, though, the other big change I made was like kind of figuring myself out romantically.
Ooh,
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, man, I'd always struggled with relationships, like a lot of people, right? And what it was, it turns out, is I was trying to be like a round peg in a square hole, in that I could never make monogamy work. I was a lifelong cheater, just like running around doing dirt.
Whoa.
And so during the pandemic, I sat down with myself and was like, what kind of person do you want to be? You can't call yourself a good guy and be doing dirt to women. You can't. So I decided that I'm just going to try out dating women openly, either being ethically non-monogamous, and see how that worked for me. And it's been great, dude. It has been fantastic. I'm dating a few very busy women, and it's been great. I can't recommend it highly enough. I don't think that monogamy is for everyone. I don't think it's for most people, to be honest. Most people I know have either cheated or been cheated on, and it's just kind of the human condition. And I can't say like enough about how much it's been a big positive thing in my life.
You know, it's we've done some poly stuff in the past. I mean, I'm gonna have you back on, Khalid. You got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of juice to dig into because we're keeping it light. We're keeping it light for this app. But I'm very curious. You didn't say you're poly though. You said ethical non-monogamy. Is there a reason you don't spring for poly?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of confusion. For the most part, when people hear poly, and this is what a lot of people actually kind of live this way, is they think, a hierarchical structure, right? Like you have a primary partner, and then you have secondary or tertiary partners, right? Where a primary partner is a person. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, a primary partner is like a person you spend most of your time with, and then like everyone else kind of like gets the scraps, basically. And I don't really believe in that because I don't think anyone is a secondary person. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's almost kind of like insulting to call someone a secondary. And even if you don't call them that, by the fact that you have a primary means that you have like secondary and so forth. So I just think of myself as kind of like probably leaning towards solo poly, which is just like a person who has like different partners, but doesn't have a hierarchical structure to it. So I guess solo poly and ethically non-monogamous, kind of interchangeable, but I guess if anything, I'd just probably say solo poly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know if I plan on ever having a primary partner.
Interesting. Well,
yeah,
it's
man.
Juicy, but I think we got to do this thing. I know you only have a few minutes left, so we're going to do just two situations today. Our second story of the day, AITA for asking my tattoo artist to lower my price for my tattoo after she constantly got up to go to the bathroom. But first, it's AITA for emasculating my 32F fiance, 38M, in front of his family. My fiance and I have been together for about 6 years, engaged for 2. After we got engaged, we sat down and had the deal breakers talk. Basically, things in our lives, our futures, hypothetical situations that leave little room for compromise, i.e. adopting children, finances, family boundaries, religion, etc. One of the things on my list, no prenup. I'm not here to debate with anyone about their use. I just think that if you're preparing for divorce before even getting married, it's a sign you're probably marrying the wrong person. He agreed and everything was fine. Lately, his family, particularly his mother, keeps on bringing up signing a prenup. I've told her no many times, said this is an issue between us and we will discuss it privately and make our own decisions as a couple. He also tells her no, although more weakly. Well, last night we went there for dinner and she brought out an actual prenup drafted by her lawyer. She put it in front of me after dinner and told me to sign. Obviously, I didn't even read it, let alone sign it. She called me a gold digger. No one, including my fiance, stood up for me, so I stood up for myself. I told her that there's no gold to dig here. I make 4 times as much as he makes. I'm an MD and he dropped out second year. I've paid off all my student debt. He has over $100K left. I have my own house, ample savings, and will certainly inherit more from my parents than he will from his. They have 6 kids and are middle class. What is she worried about? That shut her up real quick, especially when my sister-in-law then said, if anything, he's the gold digger here. Oh, shit. My fiance is now angry with me. He said it was emasculating for his family to know I'm so much more successful than him and his brothers are making jokes and changes contact info to gold digger. Personally, I don't think I was rude or out of line, but he thinks I was an asshole and could have handled it better. AITA.
Wow. Okay. First off, this dude need to get his mama. Yo, bro, get your mama. Get your people in line. All right? Because your significant other should not have to deal with the shenanigans of your family. Right? Like like his mother was way out of pocket. That's the first thing, right? So that's my first thing. I'm like, I can't believe that this dude brought his significant other over to a situation where someone from his family would even like dare to step to her like that. So that's like first, that's right away. Like, what do you think? Do you think that that's something that she should have to deal with?
Absolutely not. No. And I mean, I think it's a major sin that, you know, he said nothing. He's watching. Like, it'd be one thing if like mom did this and she's unchecked and, you know, that's it. You know, she's an independent person, but he did not check her. He didn't say shit.
Yo,
this
is one of the biggest fights that couples get into is when you're with family and it's like, how come you didn't stand up for me? How come you didn't say anything? Why did you let them speak to me this way? It's like, yo, you got to get that like real clear at the beginning, because these are people who will be in your life forever if you stay together.
Totally. I feel like she was put into a corner. I mean, I can kind of come for her because like it is pretty messed up to like go at him, you know, and she immediately kind of took that approach, right? She took this, she was being attacked, in fairness. And what she said is logical and like holds up. But she could have also just said like, just so you know, we've already discussed this. Something that I said for a long time was, you know, I'm not doing a prenup. And he agreed on this. And that's that. But I think that's a high standard to hold her to when she's being actively attacked by mom, being handed the prenup, and the fiance is just sitting there, you know, doing nothing. Like, dude, an asshole.
That's totally true. I just understand like that mindset where you're forced into a corner and you're like, you know what? I'm going to fight my way out. You just start throwing haymakers like way harder than you thought you would, like in the conversationally. And I completely can identify with where she was at with that.
It's also weird. This shows me I really don't like mom. I mean, it almost rings false with me just because I never really hear about prenups. I mean, I heard about a prenup, you know, only from wealthy people. It's not really a common thing for a middle class family to be like, oh, our lawyer drafted this. So that rings a little false to me. But if it is true, it's kind of like, why is this family so preoccupied with preserving their like non-wealth? Like it's it's fucked up.
My favorite thing of that whole like tirade she went off on was, oh, by the way, you're poor.
Yeah, right.
By the way, you ain't got a pot to piss in. Peace. I love that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she did throw in this line, I'll certainly inherit more from my parents than he will from his. That is pretty brutal. By the way, we're richer than you, just FYI.
Cuts like a knife.
Fuzzy Fungus writes, if there's anything emasculating here, it's that your fiance can't keep mommy out of his relationships even as he approaches 40. That's pretty spot on.
Yo, that is all facts. There are people for whom their parents' word carries the day until the day they die. And that is so sad. You have to become your own person. I have a friend who got into it with his wife over the summer when they were staying with his in-laws because of COVID, and he just discovered that his in-laws are like racist, and he's a black dude, they're white people, and he had no idea that his father-in-law was like this Fox News right-wing, lockstep, Trump-supporting, just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, Black Lives Matter or terrorists. Like he had no clue. And he basically had these like knockdown, drag out arguments all day with his father-in-law. And then he would argue with his wife in bed at night. Like, how come you didn't say nothing? And it's like, yo, I can't imagine.
I'm curious. We don't have to go down this route, but what did the guy do? And obviously, you know, I'm pro Black Lives Matter, etc. But are you equating that with being racist, or did he say racist things on top of that?
He said racist things on top of that.
Oh, shit.
He basically like just sprouted like Fox News talking points. He's like, but what about? He's a but what about guy? But what about Chicago? But what about black on black crime? But what about like every like all lives matter, black on black crime, like every like totem of the right wing talking points about race, he just fired them off. And my buddy was like, yo, I don't know what I just got into. Because like, and my thing was, how did you not know this? Like, you can't be a person of color marrying into a white family and not ask a lot of questions. You just can't. Like, you just can't. Haven't you seen Get Out? Like, you can't. If Get Out taught us anything, ask questions, be skeptical.
It is sad to me, you know. I mean, look, I guess I'm feeling a little defensive, if I'm being honest, because I wouldn't say, you know, my folks are Fox News conservative, but they definitely have their qualms with Black Lives Matter. There's also the Black Lives Matter thing of like they're communist or Marxist or whatever. And so my parents are Cuban. So that's like, that's their kryptonite. So, but where was I going with this? Oh, but you know, I'm constantly talking to them about it. To me, that's almost more alarming is the fact that, you know, his SO wouldn't speak up. It's like, what kind of relationship you got with your folks? You can't be honest with them. You can't tell them, hey, that's not okay. Like, listen to why that's wrong, or like, you know, at least hear him out. You know what I mean? Like, why wasn't she saying anything? That's whack to me.
I think it's partially how people are raised, because some people raise their kids to like be so in lockstep with their opinion and with their like word that they can never become a fully independent adult. And it sounds like this guy might be one of those people.
Dude, that is, oh my God, that is so well said. They don't become truly independent adults. That is a huge red flag.
Yep.
Ugh. It's so like gross to me when people are too into their parents. It says a guy who's moving back home soon, but anyway, I think we agree on this one. I think, you know, she could have obviously neutered what she said, but she was put into a corner. She's surrounded by everyone. You know, she's getting called a gold digger. Essentially, that's kind of, she called me a gold digger. So she's being insulted. Fiance says nothing. AITA for emasculating my 32F fiance, 38M in front of his family. Well, I don't think he's the asshole. He's hurt by it. You know, I think it's fair to say
his mom is the asshole.
His mom is the asshole and OP is not. You know, he said it was emasculating, and some people are like, oh, why would it be emasculating? But it is like, you could call it a stereotype or whatever, a cultural expectation that a man is a provider. So I think it rings that it felt emasculating. I think that's fair to say. Yeah,
I mean, I probably, if I was in a situation, which I would never be, because I don't plan on doing that whole married, primary, monogamous situation. But also, like, I would never bring someone to my family if I knew they were like kind of wildin'. But yeah, I can definitely see being emasculated by the situation, because, you know, it's it just feels bad to like not be doing as well as someone else in general, and especially when it's like brought up in front of your family. You know.
That's a really good point. It kind of just feels bad to not do as good as someone else. It's so simple, but it's wise. I love that. It's so true. We all
compare ourselves constantly. I mean, it is the sure path to unhappiness, but we can't help it as people. We just compare how we're doing.
We can't. Never. I'm going to try to compare myself to Vinny Vacation and get my ass to Vegas. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, man. Vinny Vacay style, baby. At least minimum 5 vacations a year. That's how I'm living. Yes.
I love it. All right, we're going to wrap up here on a quick one. This is a fun one. AITA for asking my tattoo artist to lower my price for my tat after she constantly got up to go to the bathroom. My tattoo artist charges $125 an hour. My tattoo was done by the hour, and in the end, I was there for a little over 2 hours. So in the end, before a tip, my tattoo was $270. I wouldn't have had an issue with this, but my tat artist got up 7 times to use the bathroom and was gone for at least 5 minutes each time and left her timer going. I asked if there was any way I could get the time she was in the bathroom taken off, and she made a face and then kindly said no. I didn't argue, so I just paid for my tattoo, but left a lower tip than usual. She emailed me this morning and asked me not to book with her anymore because she said I disrespected her and her work. I'm upset because she does amazing work, but I don't feel that I was wrong. If she had gotten up once or twice, I wouldn't have cared.
Yo, this is wild. Okay,
this is wild.
This is a wild one because I can kind of see both sides of this one, and it's strange, right? Because, listen, we have all had intestinal issues. Okay, we have all run to the bathroom because we had the mud butt. And I feel for this, because that's what was happening. I feel for this tattoo artist because I, too, have had the mud butt in a bad circumstance. And that was when I had to feature at Caroline's 2 years ago and literally sprinted to the back as soon as my set was over and barely made it. Okay, so I understand high pressure mud butt situations. That being said, man, time is money when you're making time money. Why are you charging by the hour for tattoo work? Just pick a price and say that's the price, no matter what the hourly situation is. This is not an hourly activity, in my opinion. This is art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know anything about tattoo pricing. Personally, don't have any tats myself. I don't really have an issue with, charging by the hour. I don't know enough about it. To me, your way does seem to make a little more sense, but I guess some pieces are more intricate than others, and I think the shades are probably more difficult. I don't know. Yeah. But I guess to me, this does seem like a common sense thing. But, even if my tattoo artist, if I go to the masseuse, this is a thing I do a lot. I like to go get a little massage, and it's usually $40 an hour. And I don't time it. I trust them with it. But if they are interrupted twice, they will say something and they'll be like, "Don't worry, we'll do extra 5 minutes at the end or whatever, extra 2 minutes at the end." Because I got to take a call or whatever. And they're just being conscious of, you're paying by the hour. You're not paying for them to be in the massage parlor for an hour. And likewise, you're not paying to be in the tattoo parlor. It's not a hotel. You're paying for the service, and that's the charge per hour of receiving the service. So honestly, even using the bathroom twice for 2 Ps, I do feel like that starts to be like, stop the timer. I'm not paying you to pee. That's not really how this works. I think obviously that gets a little ridiculous, but I can't believe the tattoo artist wouldn't be conscious of that, because that's obviously how the pricing works.
That is one of my pet peeves. When people have a financial arrangement, an agreement that's been come up with, and they don't allow enough malleability, or they don't allow any deviation from that when they're the ones who have changed the actual stakes, right? They've changed the actual agreed upon details. So if it's an hourly situation and it took 2 hours, but you did spend 35 minutes in a bathroom, it just seems to me like you got a reasonable expectation that somebody might have a problem with that. I'm not paying for you to be in the bathroom for a half hour. That seems a little bit wild.
Absolutely. I mean, even 10 minutes, it's that's 12% upcharge for no reason. What are you doing? Pee before you start the timer. You psycho? It's a scam. I feel like this definitely applies to stand up. Usually you've got to do I mean, you tell me, right? You're you've got to do a certain minimum of minutes, and you can't, there's no wiggle room. You have to be on stage telling jokes for that time.
Well, that's the strange thing. Also, it's I don't know, man. Part of me feels like the letter writer most likely exaggerated a bit about how long they were in the bathroom, because no one is keeping track. From doing stand up, it's hard to just know how much time is unless you are in a situation where you have to know the time, right? I've gotten a lot better about knowing exactly how long 10 minutes is, because I've had to do 10 minutes so often on stage. So I'm thinking this person maybe exaggerated a little bit how much they're in the bathroom. The person who was in the bathroom, obviously the tattoo artist, she's probably underestimating how long she took to go to the bathroom that many times. So in this situation, though, man, I gotta say, if I'm putting myself in that situation, I gotta think, if I'm the tattoo artist, I'm gonna just offer, hey, I know I was in the bathroom a bunch. Don't worry, I'm gonna knock a little something off.
Absolutely. It just seems like a basic being conscious of the customer thing, and I think that is where tipping kind of plays a role in this. It's and I noticed too with the masseuse, I always kind of feel like they're going a little bit farther than they need to. Sometimes the timer will go off and there's still an extra minute or two, and to me that's kind of they're trying to convey look, I'm giving you more than what you paid for. And it's and I'm going to tip you more than what it costs. That's kind of how this goes. You make me leave feeling like I got a great deal, and I tip you that much more.
I mean, the customer is not always right, but in this situation, I feel like they definitely were.
Marhina wrote, relating with me, NTA, I get 90-minute specialty massages. If my guy leaves for even 5 minutes, he adds 5 minutes to the end. If you charge by the hour, you better be there for the whole hour.
I gotta agree. That's all facts.
Somebody just wrote drugs. That's their theory for what's going on.
Yeah.
Underscore Alicia.
That could be, but I think most likely there was a mud butt situation.
You're seeing mud butt here. Look, I mean, I think mud butt is terrible. It's a terrible affliction. I don't wish it on my worst enemy, but I still think you got to be conscious of the fact that, like, yeah, your timer's running, you're charging them for that. So you say, hey, I'm super sorry, you know, I'm going to take 20 minutes off or whatever. Like, you obviously are conscious of the fact that you're going. I honestly feel like it is drugs, because that's the only way I feel like where you could be obtuse enough to not pick up on the fact that you've left for a half hour total, or even if it's 20 minutes. Like, that's, I mean, that's
if it was drugs, I'd be worried about that tattoo. Like, what, right? What wasn't done properly in that tattoo?
She'll probably be like, whoa, it was coke. I was working that much faster. That's what you don't realize. There's an efficiency gain when I'm yacked out. So I actually saved her money, really.
This girl wakes up. She's like, oh, my God, why is the N-word written on my sternum? You know, drugs.
I think we agree on this one. AITA for asking my tat artist to lower my price for my tattoo after she constantly got up to go to the bathroom. Everyone here, by the way, is writing to leave a negative review. I think that is appropriate. This is wildly unprofessional. I think we agree. No brainer, not the asshole. And the tattoo artist is.
Totally agree. Definitely the tattoo artist is the asshole.
Khalid, thank you so much for doing the show. Tell these people where they can find you.
Oh, follow me on Instagram. That is where you will find my ramblings of a madman. I am unleashed and unrestrained, but not really, on Instagram at Khalid Says. That's KHALID Says. And yeah, I have a monthly digital comedy fundraiser show called Comedy Ting. That's at the Comedy Ting. That's TING. And that's every first Tuesday of the month. We raise money for social justice organizations.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.